Have you ever met someone who didn't make you feel like you had to perform? Someone around whom you could simply breathe, be yourself, and feel instead of judged? Not because they solved all your problems, but because their presence felt safe. And maybe that's one of the most beautiful feelings in the world. Being around someone who makes you feel more like yourself, not less. Welcome to Soul Time, a show that explores the world of unlocking your unique potential. My name is Dr. Katja Makowka, and I'm a teacher at school, a former teacher at universities, and a stress and mental coach. And I'm your host. There are people in life who leaves us feeling exhausted after every interaction, not always because they are bad people. Sometimes it's simply the dynamic, the pressure to say the right thing, and the feeling of needing to prove ourselves. And the constant overthinking afterward. And over time, many people become so used to relationships that feel emotionally heavy that they stop questioning it. They start believing connection is supposed to feel complicated, like love has to be earned, like belonging requires performance, like acceptance depends on constantly adjusting who we are. But then sometimes we meet people who feel different, people around whom our nervous system softens, and conversations feel easier in these moments, and silence doesn't feel awkward anymore. We don't feel the need to constantly explain ourselves or manage how we are perceived. We simply feel safe to be human, to be our most authentic selves. And that feeling is powerful because many people spend years without experiencing it constantly. Some people make us feel evaluated all the time, but others make us feel seen. And there is a huge difference between those two things. Being evaluated creates pressure, and being seen creates a deep connection. And when someone truly sees us, we don't feel like we have to become someone else to deserve closeness. We don't feel like we constantly need to impress them and entertain them or prove our worth. We can simply exist honestly. And maybe that's what emotional safety really is. Not perfection, not constant agreement, but the ability to be authentic without the fear that love or connection will suddenly disappear. And honestly, many people don't realize how healing that kind of connection can feel until they experience it. Because if someone grew up around, for example, criticism, emotional unpredictability, pressure, or conditional approval, calm relationships can initially feel unfamiliar. And sometimes people even mistake emotional chaos for passion because intensity feels more familiar than peace. But healthy connection often feels quieter than that. It feels grounding and steady and safe, not because there are never challenges or disagreement, but because there is mutual respect underneath the difficult moments. And maybe one of the most beautiful things about emotionally safe people is this. They don't make us feel smaller to feel important themselves. They don't create connection through judgment, guilt, or control. They don't constantly pull us into emotional games. Instead, they create space to grow, space to evolve, space to speak honestly, and space to breathe. And children notice these dynamics too. They notice how adults make each other feel. They notice whether relationships feel tense or calm, and whether people listen to each other or constantly interrupt and criticize, whether love feels safe or conditional. And through those observations, children slowly build their understanding of what connection is supposed to feel like. They learn whether they must perform for acceptance or whether they are already worthy of love simply because they exist. And maybe that's why this matters so much. Because the relationships we model become part of the emotional blueprint children carry into their own lives. When they see calm, respectful, and emotionally safe relationships, they internalize something deeply important, that love does not have to feel like fear, like pressure or exhaustion. That the right people will not constantly make them question their worth. And that connection can feel peaceful. And maybe we all deserve more relationships that feel like that. Relationships where we don't leave feeling drained, where we don't feel like we have to shrink or overperform, where we don't constantly rehearse conversations after wondering if we were enough. Because the right people often bring something really quiet into our lives, a sense of ease. Not because life suddenly becomes perfect, but because around them we no longer feel like we are fighting to be accepted. And that's what feeling at home in someone's presence truly means. Not losing ourselves in connection, but feeling more like ourselves because of it. So maybe today is simply a reminder to notice the people who brings calmness into our lives, the people who make us feel grounded instead of anxious, and the people who make honesty feel safe, the people who remind us that connection does not have to cost our peace, because those relationships matter deeply. And when we become that kind of presence for others too, especially for children, we help create a world where people grow up knowing that love is not something they have to earn through performance. It's something they are worthy of simply by being who they are. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to Soul Time. I'm very grateful because you have given me the greatest treasure of your life, your time. If you enjoyed this episode, click the subscribe button so that you get a notification every time a new episode is out.